Hey everyone, and today's video covers spoilers for Mass Effect Andromeda as well as the novel Annihilation, so if you don't want any spoilers for these, here's your warning now. In today's video I'll be discussing how the Quarian ARK and the novel for Mass Effect Andromeda titled Annihilation can be used or adapted into the next Mass Effect game, so let's get straight into it.
Lockhart QT.
At the end of the main story in Mass Effect Andromeda, we talk to Initiative Worker regarding a distress beacon for the only ARK which did not make it with the other ARKs, being the Keyless. It was asking not for rescue, but to stay away from the other ARKs for an unknown reason. Many people at the time expected this story to be the focus of Mass Effect Andromeda's main storyline DLC, however we sadly never got this DLC but instead got the novel Mass Effect Annihilation written by Catherine Valente, which basically covers this story and would have been a DLC if they would have actually made it. The story for this novel is that the Quarian ARK, home to 20,000 Drell, Hanar, Quarians and other races that weren't in Mass Effect Andromeda but were in the Milky Way games, basically has an outbreak of a deadly pathogen aboard, killing species still in their cryopods. So basically the pathogen is going around the cryopods and it's spreading from species to species, killing them, and it's basically going to each of the different cryopods and the critical systems aboard the ARK. They essentially begin to fail, and it becomes clear that this wasn't just an outbreak, it was no accident. And at the time, a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda fans were quite upset as they thought the Missing Quarian ARK was meant to be a sort of continuation of the main story or DLC for Andromeda, but this simply wasn't the case, as Catherine, the author of the novel Annihilation, noted on Twitter all the way back in 2017 that it was actually always planned to be a novel and that it had been in development before Andromeda's release date. Now, in terms of the next Mass Effect game, we still don't know the timeline for the next game. We don't know if it's going to be taking place during the old trilogy, after the old trilogy, or after Andromeda. Although we've seen Liara and a few other references to the Milky Way in the OG trilogy, we've also had other references to Mass Effect Andromeda, and there's still a chance that the game will be a sequel to Mass Effect Andromeda, or just take place in the Andromeda galaxy. I've covered all of these references and Easter eggs in the reveal trailer and various other tweets by bioware devs in my previous videos, so if you want specifics, check the description for those. I'll have a few links, you can go check those out. But what if the next game in the series takes place in the Andromeda galaxy? Well, I believe that if the game does take place in Andromeda's galaxy, the Quarian ARK storyline will have to be addressed in some way, shape or form. What if the story included or even started off with retelling the events of the novel, but obviously in-game and changing a few things here and there? Obviously this is now venturing into sort of fanfiction territory, but BioWare already know that Andromeda fans, they would have loved this story to be told in-game rather than in a novel. Don't get me wrong, I know sort of side bits of literature and lore are great, but personally I prefer this sort of thing to be told in-game. Annihilation's overarching story begins as a deadly virus is making its way through the Keyless, essentially the missing ARK. Somehow the virus is spreading across multiple species as Drell, Batarians, Hanar and Quarians are all succumbing to it and essentially dying both outside and inside their cryopods. Essentially the characters in the main novel are able to determine that the virus was created as a bioweapon by the ARK's Quarian captain. The captain was a victim of a hate crime in the Milky Way galaxy, and we actually get to see this firsthand in the original trilogy. If you remember, both in Mass Effect 1 and 2, we actually meet Quarians who are essentially being victims of hate crimes, various. If you guys remember, there's that one in the Citadel with the, oh god, I'm trying to think what it is. I think it's the Volus that accuses the Quarian of shoplifting or stealing his wallet. I can't remember the actual side quest, but it's just things like that really. And the captain released the virus into a handful of Drell cryopods with the intention of letting the disease pass from them to humans, Asari, Turians, Solarians once they arrived in Andromeda. But hopefully we'll see this explored further in the next Mass Effect game, and whether or not it's a sequel to Andromeda or if it is a sort of future game set in the Milky Way galaxy. Personally, I love the sort of angle of political tension, as well as obviously themes of classes and racism within the different species aboard the essentially Andromeda Citadel with all the arcs. I think that I know Andromeda had its issues at launch, but I think the potential is really there to expand upon the lore, the characters, and the story. If BioWare just give it some time, I do think that if they were to return to Andromeda with all the lessons that they've learned, I think that another game would be brilliant. But we'll have to wait and see. And personally, this is just a pipe dream, but I would love to see the Quarian ARK, essentially the story retold in game rather than in novel. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and for more info on the next Mass Effect game, speculation, theories, lore videos, etc, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and tell me in the comments below, what do you think of the next game's story will feature, and do you think the Missing Quarian ARK storyline will return in some way, shape or form?